Hello friends, this is Reza from Radacad. In this video, which is the fourth part of aggregation, I'm going to talk about how to speed up the performance of your Power BI report. This is the last part that I'm going to show you how to use manage aggregation, or a feature we call aggregation awareness, and then test the whole aggregation process, test that how your fact tables data sometimes comes from the imported aggregated table, sometimes it comes from the detailed direct query table. Whenever you are going into that detail level, let's go and check it out. So just a very quick brief overview if you have skipped the previous videos and jumped into this video. Very quickly, I'll explain what the aggregation is about. When you have a huge model, when you have a Power BI model that the performance is not the best performance available, one of the things you can do to improve the performance is enable aggregation or use the aggregation. What is the idea about the aggregation? I'll share my screen and I'll explain at the same time. So in this model that I have here, you see I have a bunch of tables in this model, which I'm going to just zoom out a little bit so that you can see. Okay, that was quite a lot of zoom out. So here you can see that I have a fact table. Let's assume this fact table is huge. It's a direct query source table. And then I have some other dimensions. What we do normally for aggregation is that we create an aggregated version of this table based on some of the dimensions. In this case, it is based on the date, based on product subcategory, and based on the customer, but it may not be based on all the dimensions. For example, the promotion is not included in that. We'll do that aggregation. I have a separate video explained how to create this aggregated table. You can create it in 3 different ways, or even more than that. You can build it using SQL views or stored procedures. You can use Power Query data flows to build that, or you can use DAX aggregation functions. Once you created that aggregated table, you set it as import because it's much smaller table. You load it into Power BI, and then in the next step, you have to set the storage mode of the tables that are connected to the both aggregated table and to the big table, which might be direct query, or let's say in this case, which might be direct query or it might be import. You set the storage mode of those to be dual storage mode, and I explained about that, what dual storage mode actually means. So this one that you see, they have these stripes on top of them. They are dual storage mode. This is imported mode, and these that have solid lines on top of them, these are direct query. Now this video particularly is about what is the next step after that. You have created the aggregated table, you have set the dual storage mode for all the tables that needs to be set like that. Now the last step is that you have to tell Power BI that this is the aggregated table. You know it is aggregated table because you have created it. But from Power BI point of view, this table is like any other tables. Power BI doesn't know that this is the aggregated table. Why it is important for the Power BI model to understand that? Because when you tell Power BI model that this is the aggregated table, then what is happening is that Power BI will consider that table for any visualization queries first. If it cannot be evaluated or the result of that is not available in that table, then it will go to the actual main direct query table. That is what this aggregation setup is about. We call this feature also aggregation awareness. We tell Power BI that there's an aggregated table, and Power BI will always keep that in the process, so that if there is a query can be resolved based on that, it will use that. So how we do that? After you create all of these tables, you see here I have all of these tables. This is my direct query table. Those are all dimension tables, and this one is the aggregated table. So once you have created the aggregated table, you will go and click on, we are in the relationship tab, but you can also do that from the other tabs. You click on here and you'll go to manage aggregations. That is how you would bring up this manage aggregation. When you bring that first time, you wouldn't have anything here, so you'll have to add the columns or set them up. how this setup is. Here you see that I have different columns, and I set the summarization for them, the detail table and the detail column. This is exactly based on how the aggregated table is built. In my case, the aggregated table is the fact internet sales has one single record per transaction, but the aggregated table has grouped that information by the customer key, by order date key, and by product subcategory key. So I have one record per customer key, order date key, and product subcategory key. And then other fields are aggregation based on that. Here you see that I have mentioned here that the customer key is a grouped by operation, order date key is a group by operation, and product subcategory key is also a group by operation. We'll mention what the detail table for those is. They are coming from fact internet sales table, and what is the column in the fact internet sales table, because you might have renamed that column to something else, right? And then in addition to those, you also mentioned that what aggregated columns you have here. So based on those key group by fields, what aggregations we have? We have a count of rows that is coming as this. This is the count rows based on this table. When you say count, it doesn't really matter what column it is. And then we have sum of this column, sum of the sales amount that is available here as this. And you might have also a few other aggregated columns. Where this is coming from, usually you get it from the place that you do the aggregation. In my case, I've done the aggregation in Power Query. In one of the previous videos, you can go and watch that, how I've done that. But in the Power Query, in the sales ag table, when I click on this group by transformation that I have done, you will see that I have exactly the same group by setup. Inside Power Query, I said that I grouped it based on these three fields, which is exactly those three fields that we had over there, and also based on these based on those aggregations we have based on those group by keys, we have these aggregated columns. This is sum of the sales amount, this is sum of the unit price, and the other two are just count rows, which doesn't really matter what column it is. So it doesn't matter, you might have created this using DAX aggregation functions or SQL views or Power Query. Once you have done that, once you loaded that into Power BI, once you set that table to be import, then here you'll go to manage aggregations, and then you'll set exactly the same configuration here. What this is actually telling to Power BI is that this table is a grouped by version of this table. And based on which fields, we are exactly telling which fields in here. Their order really doesn't matter here because it's a group by operation. The group by doesn't has any order in it. And once you mention that, then what happens is that Power BI is going to make this table hidden. You see this invisibility thing. At the very first versions of this feature, it was not an option that it happens automatically. You should have, after that, you should have gone and made that table invisible yourself. But now Power BI does that itself. What is the meaning of this? This means that from your, let's say, your report visualizer point of view, they don't need to know that this table exists. This is a table needed for the engine to perform better. They just use the normal columns that they want from the fact table, from fact internet sales table. They don't even mention this table at all. But behind the scene, Power BI uses this table. And that is the beauty of aggregation awareness. There is one thing in here about precedence. I'll talk about that in the next video. That is when you have multiple layers of aggregation. For this video, we'll just go with the simple one layer aggregation, and I'll show you how this works. So now that I have this aggregation set up, and that's exactly what we needed to do, then we'll go to the report tab. In the report tab, I'll remove this visualization. In the report tab, you see that there is no aggregation table at all. I just have normal fact internet sales table. When I hover on it, you see it is a direct query table, and all others are my dimension tables. So I want to show you how this aggregation now performs. Throughout these 4 videos, we talked about how to set it up. Now this is the last video that I want to show you how this performs. I have a SQL Server database backend, and I'm using SQL Profiler. SQL Profiler is a tool, is one of the tools that we can use to track and trace queries run on the database server. So I use this, and I run a trace on my local database engine. Any query, any request come to my local database engine, I would be able to see it here. You see that I have some connections and things like that. I'm going to clear that up, but this is listening. So as soon as a new query comes in, I should see it. If Power BI, if I create a visualization in Power BI that calls query to be sent to this data source, which is the source of my fact table, I will see that immediately here. I'll go to Power BI now. And in Power BI, you see that fact internet sales is a direct query table. I'll expand that and I'll drag and drop sales amount. Now, sales amount is a column in a direct query table. So when I bring it here, as soon as I do that, based on direct query situation, this means that it should send the query to the data source, result comes back. But you see that this happened really fast. When I go to the SQL Profiler, there is no trace of such query. Why? Because this is sourced in this case from that aggregation table, not from the direct query source. I'll go and slice and dice this sales amount by something from customer table, let's say English education. I'll bring that in here, and you see that also happens fast, and there is still no trace of that in the SQL Server Profiler. So still, this is an aggregated table that is responding. I'll go and bring something from dim date, and it doesn't matter which field, because you grouped it based on the date key, so any of these fields would still be responded by or replied by the aggregated table. I'll bring calendar year as a smart multiple, which is a really cool feature in the visualization. It will multiply your visualization based on that particular field. I have a separate video about that. Go and check it out. Now I have different visualizations, different charts for each of these years, and even something like this, which is sales by English education and calendar year, still no query sent to the data source, because all of these exist in the aggregated table, and Power BI understands that. Because of that managed aggregation we set up, Power BI understands it. Now what happens is that if I go to a table that is not, the data of that is not in the aggregated table, in my case dim promotion, and I'll bring anything from there, let's say, I don't know, English promotion category, I'll bring that into the legend. As soon as I do that, then when I come here, you see that queries are sent to the data source. I'll make this a little bit bigger so that you can actually see the actual query. This is the query sent to the data source, and it's not a small query, of course, it's a big query, but it has promotion in it as well, and you can see it, plus other information as well. So this is the meaning of aggregation. As you saw, it only triggered querying from the direct query table when the data was not in the aggregated table. I'll bring that model view again so that you get a better view of this. I have the fact internet sales, the big direct query table. I have some dimensions. I have the aggregated table. Aggregated table is at the level of product subcategory, dim date, and dim customer. English education was from dim customer. The year was from the dim date. So as when I queried based on that, they've been answered by aggregation table because we set up that manage aggregation. But as soon as we brought something from dim promotion, which is a direct query table, which we don't have any of that information in the aggregated table, what happened was that this kicked the direct query SQL code to be generated, sent to the data source, and the result comes back. That is how aggregation works. Very simple, very efficient. It makes your Power BI model much faster. What we normally do is that we create a lot of layers of aggregation, and that is what I'm going to talk about in the next video. In this video, we just talked about the process of creating that and how that works. But in the next video, I'm going to talk about how you can create layers, set up the precedence of that, and that is the main key to get the really good performant Power BI model, even if you have billions of records, petabytes of data, and your measures, all of your visualization, all of your calculations perform really fast. I hope this video helped you in your Power BI implementation. If you have any questions, feel free to put that in the comments below. If you like this video, go ahead and subscribe into our YouTube channel. We have weekly videos on Power BI and Microsoft Fabric. Until the next video, bye.